call me WillyOgorzaly. I'm a principal product manager at Shapeshift by day, and I work at Giveth by night. And today we're going to talk about building a future without fees. So I'm not going to shill Shapeshift or Giveth, but we'd be happy to talk about those afterwards. And I will use them as examples for how you can build awesome business models or really economies without charging fees. So just to be clear, I wanted to have a catchy title, but we're specifically talking about application fees today. Not taking in the protocol fees, at least not in this talk. Just focusing on this top piece of the stack, the application. So I'd like to invite everyone to participate in a quick envisioning exercise. So just close your eyes for a moment and imagine a future full of open source technologies and applications where the best and most efficient protocols win. And other than protocol fees, people don't pay fees to use decentralized applications. No, guys. So this isn't a world where developers are altruists and working for free. Rather, this is a world where positive-sum games can reward developers and their teams even more than if they were to charge for their software. So to me, this seems like an obvious and inevitable future. And if you agree, fuck yeah, we can stop the talk now and we can get back to building this future together. We could be these little robots in the bottom corner. Oh, is it not showing? Okay, no. That could be us. But some projects, and a lot of people that I talk to in the space, clearly don't get this. They think somehow that it's totally fine to build closed source software and charge fees on top of protocols. And I'm not just talking about obscure products, but products that we all know and love. So today, I want to challenge this. For dApps, I want to show you guys that there's better ways to capture value than by extracting. For protocols, I want to show how valuable it can be to share revenues with dApps that add value. And for users, I want to help save you money. Or even better, I want to help you make money. And I want to upgrade you from just a regular old user to an empowered, powerful community member with the ability to fight for better business models and utility. So, historically in the Web 2 world, how do businesses make money? How do interfaces specifically, these applications, make money? One obvious way is to charge some fees. Charge a transaction fee, subscription fee, one-time fee, all sorts of fees you can charge. But when you do this, you create a barrier that every potential user of your product needs to overcome. Fees inevitably add friction, and they detract from your user experience. Nobody likes fees. And if you do like fees, you might be a psychopath. And the success of your business relies on network effects, which for many dApps, I think it will. It's essential that you minimize friction. Otherwise, a competitor with less friction can build a stronger network effect and win. So I'll say it one more time, because this is so crucially important. If your business's success relies on network effects, it's imperative that you minimize friction. Otherwise, another competitor with less friction will build a stronger network and win. So what's better than fees? No fees. Free, baby. We all know how powerful free is. One of the main reasons I'm here is to stock up on some dope swag. The power of free is embedded deep into our psychology. So Bitfract is a tool I built with some friends during the last bull run, and it's ultimately how I ended up at Shapeshift. So it was the first way where you could trade Bitcoin for multiple digital assets in a single transaction. And that was pretty cool in and of itself, but people really loved Bitfract. And I think one of the main reasons people loved it was that it was free. Instead of charging fees on every transaction, which really would have messed with the user experience, we earned affiliate revenues from Shapeshift for the volume that we drove. So free does not mean that you can't make money. And today I want to show you guys that you can actually be wildly successful and make even more money by not charging fees. So, close your eyes again and revisit that future where the only fees are on the protocol level. And if that isn't beautiful enough, now imagine that not only are these interfaces open source and free, but they reward you with governance tokens when you use them. And those governance tokens entitle you to a share of the revenue generated by this interface. How beautiful is that sound? But let's be real. Bills don't pay for themselves. Developers' time is far from free. So how do we make money? There's a ton of creative ways to make money, and more Legos are being developed as we speak. But today I want to talk about two specific monetization strategies for dApps that don't require charging any fees. So if you're building, or if you're thinking about building a dApp and you're trying to figure out how to monetize it, I know I was talking with someone in this audience today who's in that exact situation, there's a good chance one of these will work for you. But if not, I hope they at least give you some inspiration to start thinking creatively. So the first example I want to use is Giveth, a product I absolutely love. On Giveth, 100% of every DAI donated goes directly to social good projects. Could we charge fees on top of that? Could we charge these projects monthly to list themselves? Sure, but wouldn't that be messed up? This money is for charity. So instead, we came up with a model that we think is much better. One thing we learned at Givers is that it's all about the givers. As long as you have givers donating, the projects will come, and your network effects can multiply. For the current nonprofit industry, being a giver is really hard. Once you've decided that you want to give away your money, you pick which cause you want to support. Now you have to research multiple competing projects and choose which one you want to donate to. But you just want to donate, and giving away your money should be super easy. So on Give It, we're excited to introduce the concept of donating to causes. So you can donate to the causes you care about, and you can trust that 100% of your donation is going to go directly to top projects in that cause. It's going to be very similar to Bitcoin, where funds donated to causes each month will be available as matching donations. And those funds are going to get paid out to projects as matching donations at the end of the next month. So that means that these donations will be sitting idly in smart contracts for about 45 days. A month where we're raising these donations for causes, and the following month they're available as matching funds. So see you guys putting it together, you've got idle crypto sitting around, that's opportunity to generate revenue. And so now 100% of every DAI donated can go directly to these projects, and the interest generated from that DAI can go to the Give It DAO to fund development. And we can give our early donors give tokens. And if Give It ends up being the main feature of giving, then those give tokens can end up being worth a lot. And that revenue model, without charging any fees, can still generate billions of dollars of revenue just off the interest of hundreds of billions of dollars of donations that are happening now. Everybody wins. This is really a winning model. Could we still win by charging fees? Maybe. But that's not the point. The point isn't, can we get away with charging fees? The point is, should we? And I really believe that the answer is no. Because if Give It doesn't charge fees, we can be the best way to donate to social good projects. Which platform would you rather donate on? One that charges fees, or one that doesn't? Which platform would you rather list your project on if you're project raising funds? So if you assume similar UX, code quality, and features, which used to be decent competitive advantages, but in this new open source world, it's much less of competitive barriers. The one thing that does trump fees is network effects. So fees add a lot of friction, but Web2 businesses like Uber have figured out a way to make these fees just low enough where the value of their network is worth it. And this makes it really difficult for a non-disruptive startup to come in and compete with it, because they've already established these network effects, and we're kind of stuck paying these fees. So with Uber and Lyft, for example, about 33% of every ride goes to this software company in San Francisco. So if the ride's 24 bucks, that's $8 going to Uber, which is a 50% tax for the rider. And I love free market capitalism, I'm all about it, but how long in humans' evolution are we going to pay a 50% tax on every ride we take? But whenever we need a ride, we're still going to probably use Uber or Lyft right now, right? But some of us in the audience, no matter how much ETH we have, we're still going to compare Uber and Lyft to see who's got the better rate, right? And drivers are going to run both apps to get the most amount of business. It's not like we're loyal to a specific one of these brands, but these network effects that they've established make it almost impossible for any other new startup to come displace them, at least in the Web2 world. So we're kind of stuck with it. These Web2 companies have figured out how to leverage network effects and economies of scale to make it almost impossible for any centralized company to replace them. Notice I said almost. I don't think we're stuck with Uber and Lyft for the rest of human history. But I do think it's going to be very difficult to beat them at their own game. I think launching a decentralized Uber with slightly lower fees isn't really going to cut it. We need to disrupt these motherfuckers. So to accelerate this disruption, let's not race these Web2 companies to the bottom. Let's front run this race entirely and make our app free and use the growing variety of money Legos to generate revenue in a new way. Ideally one that just isn't possible in Web2. You can imagine these money Legos for us to generate interest are available for any Web3 project, right? But for a new startup to just be able to start generating interest on funds flowing through them, that's a whole can of regulatory worms that is really difficult for a new startup to get into. But for us, these money Legos are just waiting to be assembled. When you make your app free and you monetize creatively and you build these network effects, it's very hard to compete, especially in the open source world. Code can be for it, but network effects cannot. So the next business model I'm really excited to share with you guys is Shapeshift's new model. After the big announcement last week where we shared our plans to dissolve our entity, open source all of our code, and hand control of Shapeshift over to Fox token holders, woo! So you may be wondering how we're going to make money going forward. So when Shapeshift launched in 2014, it made money by charging fees on trades. And then when we launched Fox token in 2018, the main utility of the Fox token was to waive these fees. So the more Fox tokens you held, the more fees you can waive each month on trades. And this made sense because we had built a really robust trading engine. It wasn't open source. We weren't an open source application, we were a closed source trading desk. And so the Fox token was a really creative way where we were able to capture the value of this robust trading engine we had built over years in a token. But January this past year, Shapeshift announced that we're getting out of the regulated business of trading. And we're embracing these decentralized protocols. So how do we make money now? And what's the utility of Fox? Should we add fees on top of these decentralized protocols and make Fox tokens waive these fees? No! Don't get me wrong, I love MetaMask, but who do they think they are charging 0.875% fee on top of these decentralized exchange protocols? I just think that is so lame. But what if Shapeshift charged 0.865%? No. Instead of racing MetaMask to the bottom and all these other wallets were adding fees on top of trades to the bottom, we don't charge any fees on top of protocols. In fact, Shapeshift doesn't charge any fees anyway. You can buy, sell, send, receive, trade, and earn yield on your crypto for free. And the only fees you're going to pay when you're using Shapeshift are on the protocol level. Instead, the Shapeshift DAO can generate affiliate revenues. Whenever a user trades, buys crypto, earns interest, sells NFT, buys Shapeshift swag, whatever it is, the Shapeshift DAO can earn affiliate revenues in ways that do not cost the user any extra. And furthermore, this is where it gets really exciting, we can give the user some Fox. So in other words, the user could be interacting directly with the protocol like Yearn on-chain. But it would actually be more expensive for them in terms of the opportunity cost than if they were to use Shapeshift, because they could be getting some extra Fox and not paying any extra fees. And now, Shapeshift can be the best way to use Yearn, the best way to trade on Lineage, the best way to sell your NFTs on OpenSea. Not just in UX terms, but economically, down to the bottom line, that is so important to all of us DJs. Each of the above protocols already offers affiliate revenue models. There's many more, but as you can see here, there's already options for the main things that people want to do in crypto. And there's also options for things that crypto people don't really want to do, like tax services. This model can be applied to any protocol or any crypto service that charges users. So instead of charging users more to use these through us, let's charge them nothing. And better yet, let's give them some of these revenues that they generate in the form of Fox. So to recap, not all fees are evil. Fees on the protocol level serve a real purpose, and the market is going to determine the optimal balance. Oftentimes they're necessary, and they're required for the sustainability of the protocol. And interfaces serve a purpose as well, and the market will determine the optimal balance for them to charge. But I believe that optimal balance is going to trend towards zero. And rather than competing with Web2 companies and each other in a race to the bottom, let's front run this race, make our fees zero, figure out creative ways to monetize, and start building network effects. These types of business models, like we said earlier, particularly that float model of generating interest, would be very difficult for a Web2 startup to implement. But for DAOs, the building blocks are there waiting to be assembled. We have the opportunity here to create a better world. Let's DAO. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Do you have time for questions?
I just want to say I will buy something that's more expensive if it has free shipping. I don't know about you guys, but for some reason that mentality of free, I think really gets to people. And so, yeah, just hearing you say that makes me think like, of course free is going to win out over having to compare rates.
Exactly. In fact, there was some case study. It was when Amazon does free shipping now, people love it. But before they did that, they pioneered. I think it was like 5 cents for shipping, or $5 for shipping, or something like that. I think it was like 5 cents, and even that 5 cents made such a big difference compared to just totally free. So, and again, it's like I've been in the Web2 world with marketplaces and stuff, and it's just a race to the bottom. And so, the network effects are the only thing that can help save you there. But yeah, let's just front run the race and like come up with creative ways, and again, generate even more revenue than if you were to charge fees. Any other questions?
So with given when it comes to like charities in real life, a lot of times people think, oh, this is great, all my money's going to charity, but obviously in the real world, a lot of it goes to the organizers and not actually get used for what it's supposed to be. So do you guys have any like transparency stuff or anything that so that people can know that the money is going directly towards these things, or how does that work?
We do. So the Giveth interface I put up there was like the new version of Giveth. It's super easy to just donate to projects with no fees. The original version of Giveth, Giveth Trace, just graduated out of beta, and it's you can manage your donations and like allocate them to milestones, and it's all super transparent. But still, I think we can do better. And so one of the things we're really excited about, we pitched this at ETH Denver 2 years ago and got first place in the Impact Track Hackathon. And the idea was that the example was imagine if you could just donate to planting trees. And what if anybody in the world could plant trees and prove that they planted trees and get paid for it, right? And maybe, you know, first of all, it's a great revenue stream for anyone in the world who needs to make money and doesn't have a good opportunity. They can just go out, anyone can go out there and plant trees and prove it. And then people who donate, you can have 100% of their diet going directly to boots on the ground people who are planting trees and proving it. And you don't need an organization and all that overhead. So right now we're just like funding the existing organizations that are there, making it really easy for them to raise funding and be transparent. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to cut out middleman in nonprofit space as well.
Cool, thanks.
So when I buy something on Shapeshift, the price is obviously not going to be the same on every exchange. So technically, you wouldn't even need to have a token, right? Because if I buy something on Shapeshift and Shapeshift could just like arbitrage on a different exchange, and that would be your profit.
In our old model, yes, and in our old model that was part of our profit as well. And oftentimes, you know, we win sometimes and we lose sometimes on trades. But in this new model, we've integrated decentralized exchange protocols. So we used to be the counterparty to every trade, and we no longer touch them at all.
Yeah, but still, if it just uses Uniswap, for example, Sushi software has a different rate, so there is still opportunity that you can.
There is for the user, but not for us because we can't really take part in that trade. But we do. We integrate 0x. So 0x aggregates Uniswap and SushiSwap, and can even split orders across different exchanges to get you the best rates. We also integrate ThorChain. We kind of want to be like an aggregator of DEX aggregators, if that makes sense, and do it multi-chain, not just on EVM networks. But yeah, I mean, so do you still think that there's an opportunity for us to?
Yeah, that's why I asked you previously. If you guys started staking on E2, you could just include your own transaction, and that covers like the bridge between those two things.
I see. So you're thinking of like some MEV approach. Cool, interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty creative idea. So I love that, right? Like, there's all these cool ways that we can capture value without charging VC users, and I think that's how we're gonna win. Any other questions? Almost everyone's asked the questions. Cool. Awesome. We'll look forward to building this.
The next one is missing or not here yet, so you still have time in the meeting.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys said
Or you're